Hey there guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to build this really fun coffee filter puff parrot toy. This is a fun shreddable toy if your birds need lots of things to do. It can also be used as a foraging toy. So if you guys are interested in seeing how to make this, since it is a really cool, really fun toy, you want to make sure to stick around. That's going to be coming up right after this. Hey there guys, this is Jack over at Hi Red Bird, where I am tirelessly working to find new ways to make the keeping of exotic animals and pets more exciting, more affordable, and ultimately more enjoyable. In today's video, I wanted to show you guys how to build a different type of toy. Now I have made these in the past, but I'm going to be honest, I haven't made one of these for a while. And after making this, I remembered why. This is actually a really easy toy to put together, but it is a fairly tedious toy to put together. Now the good news is, since it is made out of coffee filters, it is very easy if you wanted to dye this custom colors. If you want to, do a white and red one or a green and red one for Christmas. If you wanted to do a red and pink one for Valentine's Day. If you wanted to do maybe a green and purple one for Halloween, or an orange one for Halloween, just make a giant pumpkin. All of those are going to be options that are really, really easy to accommodate. But what you need to know is how to build the base toy first. So let's go ahead, jump into that. Afterward, we'll talk about ways that you can customize and use this really cool toy. All right, guys, so to make this, you're only going to need a couple of things. First and foremost, you're going to need some coffee filters. You're actually going to need an entire pack of coffee filters to do this. You're going to need something to build this toy on. I'm going to be using a shoelace, since I am going to be building this for smaller birds, but make sure your toy hanger is appropriate for whatever you're building it for. You're going to need a couple of wooden beads and something to punch holes in your coffee filters. This is one of those situations where I absolutely love my crocodile for making parrot toys. The reason being, you can see how much throat space it has. I can really get those coffee filters centered because I'm going to want to punch holes in the center of every single coffee filter. Here I'm using a pack of about 200. As you can imagine, if I had a smaller, handheld hole punch that couldn't get to the center easily, this would be a lot more difficult. But this crocodile actually makes really, really short work of this. Now I'm going to go ahead and start working with them in small batches. And what I want to do is take them apart and alternate the way that they are laying. I want one with the cup side up, one with the cup side down. You'll notice when you're doing that, the cup side inverts really, really easily. So you may wonder why you're doing this. The cup side inverts, but the scalloping on the edges does not change as easily, which means it won't completely line up. You don't want to use this, you don't want to just throw the coffee filters on the toy hanger the way they come out of the pack, because you're not going to end up with a puff ball. Instead, you're going to end up with a giant cone of coffee filters, which is a different toy. And if that's what you wanted to make, that is, of course, something that you can make. But here we're making a puff. So I'm going to go ahead and stack all of the coffee filters. Every single one. You do want to take them apart one by one. I know that makes it seem even more tedious, but it is going to make your finished product a little bit better. Now, the good news, for you guys at least, is that I can go ahead and speed this up. Again, so this is a pretty easy toy to make. It does just take a little bit of time. Honestly, not that much time. It's just that it's so repetitive. Now, the reason I wanted to make some of these, I am currently issuing a challenge. I am trying to make some toys for Magnolia Exotic Bird Sanctuary. They take in rescue birds. They do a great job of providing for them. So I wanted to give the people who watch my videos the opportunity to help them out. For every new subscriber that I get over the next month, I will be making and donating one more toy to Magnolia Bird Sanctuary. So I encourage you guys to do that if you haven't already. Now I'm going to take my shoelace, that's what I'm using as a toy hanger. I'm going to tie 2 knots in it. I wanted to show you guys, if you just put the knot, you can pull that through the coffee filter really easily. That's why I like to use these wooden beads. They basically work like a washer in construction. So when I put that coffee filter on there, it's going to give me a lot more surface area that's holding against that coffee filter. I'm not going to be as likely to tear this apart. Since I have already inverted this group of them, I can just go ahead and string them. But you guys can see after, just a few of them, that toy is looking a little bit sad and pathetic. What's the solution? Add more coffee filters. When you're making this toy, if it is ever looking sad, I can almost guarantee the solution is going to be to add more coffee filters. Out of 1 pack of coffee filters, we're going to make 1 of these toys. Of course, if you don't invert them, so there's 1 with the cup side up, 1 with the cup side down, 1 with the cup side up, you're going to run into some problems there as well. But more often than not, when I've shown people how to make these before in the past, they'll come to me and say, well, here, I made it, but it looks a little sad. And the reason that it looks a little sad is that it just needs more coffee filters. I'm going to be perfectly honest. This is one of the toys that if you can find somebody else to make and you just pay for them, most people are usually pretty happy to do that because it is so time intensive. And it's so repetitive and tedious just doing 1 coffee filter after the other. But it is a really simple toy to make. So at this point, I'm at about 75 coffee filters, and you guys may notice that's still looking a little flat. I like to see progress as I'm going, so what I'll do is I'll just go through and manipulate it, try to work those coffee filters so they're all starting to go down. You can definitely start to see the bottom part of the puff there. Some of the upper ones are still facing up, and we're going to go ahead and keep adding coffee filters. We always are going to need more coffee filters to make this. You guys can see that is still looking just a little bit sad. So keep, again, inverting your coffee filters, stringing them up. Again, we're only at about 75 at this point, so I'm just going to keep going. Now, at about 100 coffee filters, this is what I knew was going to be about the halfway point, but I wanted to show you guys what to look for. Again, we're going to keep going, stringing coffee filters again and again and again. And as you keep working them down to get that downwards part of the puff, what you're going to notice is you start to get some that are sticking straight out. That is where you know that is as wide as those can go. After this, they're going to go ahead and start curving up. So we're going to add more coffee filters. At this point, you may be regretting even attempting this tutorial, but I'm going to be honest, putting this entire thing together took a grand total of maybe 5 to 10 minutes. The longest and most tedious part for me was editing the video, which you guys aren't going to have to do. Now you can see we're at the home stretch. We just have a few more coffee filters left to go. This is honestly one of the best feelings in the world, but you guys can see on the bottom, we have a really nice puff, but the top is still a little bit open. So what we're going to do is we're going to take another one of those wooden beads. You just want to make sure you use something that's going to give you more grip on the coffee filter that you can, go ahead, pull that a little bit tighter. Once you get that tighter, you can see you can get more of that puff shape. And you can go ahead, press it flat, try to get that as tight as possible. Once you go ahead and get those knots into place so that bead isn't moving, you can fluff it back up. It will go back to the puff shape. You just want to make sure that you get that pretty tight. Now, when I tie the knot on the top, the first knot I mostly tie just to secure it. The second one, I leave that little bit of a loop. That way, I then have a toy hanger that is also just reinforced that first knot. Again, when you're making these, make sure that whatever you're using as your toy hanger is going to be appropriate for the bird you're making it for. I'm making this for a small bird, so something like a shoelace will work. I'll go through and I'll cut that point off at the end, but it is really, really nice when you're making the toy just to have that in place to go ahead and help you string things up. If you're making these for a small bird like I am, the good news is a single shoelace will give you enough length to make 2 of these. So you can make another one if you didn't learn your lesson the first time. Now all I'm going to go through is I'm going to fluff it up. So I'm just going to work it back and forth. You can see, the upper filters are going to naturally want to curve up. The lower filters are going to naturally want to curve down. The ones in the middle will stick straight out. So that really is all that goes into doing this. Again, if you guys would like to have some of these donated to a bird rescue, if you subscribe to the Hi Redbird YouTube channel, I am making and donating some of these. All right, guys, so as you can see, this is a really easy toy to put together. I'm holding it by the loop on the top, so that gives me the ability to hang this up. If I wanted to customize this, I would just dye the coffee filters, and honestly, you can take your dye in something like a spray bottle or like a ketchup bottle, like a clean restaurant supply brand new ketchup bottle, not a previously held ketchup bottle, and then drizzle that dye over this to give you different colors, spray it to give you different colors. I usually like to dye the coffee filters beforehand because I think it's just a little less messy, and when you're using dye to do parrot toys, it does have the potential to get very, very messy, and if I make a huge mess, that's when I tend to get yelled at, and I try to avoid that. Now, when you want to use this, there's a couple of different things you can do. Obviously, you can see at the very top, we do have something of a bowl. You could, of course, just hide treats on there. But all of these coffee filters, every single one gives you places where you can hide things inside. And because of how it is compressed in the center, the further in you go, the tighter those toys are going to be held. So if you're starting something brand new with your bird, you maybe want to put your food items on the edges, especially here at the center where you can see they're going more flat. There's going to be a lot more give. It's going to be really easy to see those items. But as your bird gets a little more comfortable with this, where we start to get that curve up at the top, open that up and go ahead, push those items all the way in. It may take your bird a little bit to find them, but once they are comfortable with this, they will usually blow through these items really, really quickly. Of course, you don't have to use this as a foraging toy. This is a great option. I've seen birds that have feather destructive behavior. They're over preening their feathers. If you have a bird that is doing that and maybe just needs something to do, you can, of course, try something like this in combination with checking your vet, making sure that there's no skin issues, anything like that. Enrichment is a great supplement to providing for behavioral issues, feather preening, things like that. Just remember, you can't train and enrich your way out of a medical issue. So if you do have a bird that is doing something like plucking, just make sure you visit with your vet. Make sure you can rule out those medical issues before you start depending on things like this, but they can definitely be a whole lot of help. So I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed this video on how to make this really fun coffee filter puff parrot toy. The really fun thing that I like about this is, so I'll manipulate it and I'll work with it in a few different ways. And then I'm like, oh, what happened? Like right there, it looks like it's a little bit wonky. I'll just run my hands back and forward over it and I can fluff it back into shape. And so it's a really, really forgiving toy. And honestly, I'll just make these and I'll throw them to the side. I'll throw them in a tote, pull them out later. They're perfectly fine. So it definitely is one of those toys that can be a lot of fun to make. They're a good toy for kids to make. You don't necessarily have to care if they're the prettiest, but it's really, really easy. They're really forgiving, so you can make them look really good too. So I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. I do need to say thank you to my Patreon patrons for helping to make these videos possible. You can find out more by visiting Hi Redbird on Patreon or clicking the link in the description section down below if you would like more information. Thanks!